In the early years of the Age of Enlightenment, Cormaladon, a powerful Niskaru, stole the legendary Orb of Aglacereth for himself. The orb was a cursed artifact of unspeakable power that could kill any being and reanimate the dead into horrible mockeries of life. Bent on conquest, the Niskaru was met on the shores of Loch Breath by the armies of the mortal kingdoms. When the fighting was done, Cormaladon's abominations were scattered, while the orb was taken for safekeeping by the newly reformed Warsworn. The Almain and Jottun have fought over the war-torn Axelands for generations. In one such campaign, Sir Raylan Fange, the renowned Almain commander, mounted a massive invasion along the Axelands coast. Despite being outnumbered, Tungumper led his army to stern the Almain invasion. Under a banner of truce, Sir Fange demanded Tungumper's surrender. Tungumper, offended by such an implication of weakness, broke the truce by tearing away Fange's limbs and devoured him raw before throwing his remains back at the Almain. This act drove the Jottun into a frenzy, and they rallied to crush the Almain that day. In the latter years of the Age of Arcana, the earth in southern Cluracan deformed, revealing a massive geode. The Dokkalfar, intrigued, investigated the geode, eventually tunneling into it. What they discovered within was a trove of pure Prismere crystal. Recognizing the great wealth and power of the find, they claimed ownership and established a city, Crystalmere, within the geode's depths. The Dokkalfar have been tied to the sultry caverns of Crystalmere ever since, and it has enabled them to rise to heights of power heretofore undreamed of. The Apotharni centaurs of Elgea are a proud and noble people, civilized and honorable, one of the great kingdoms of Amalur. The Abaroa centaurs of Dregshore are not. Warlike and savage, the Abaroa were driven from the more hospitable lands of their cousins long ago. In a series of wars, the Abaroa were pushed farther out until they reached the bleakest corner of the world. Since then, the Abaroa have dwelt in Dregshore, bitter and angry, savage and warlike as ever. Bolgans are primal, chaotic, and brutal, but they serve a vital purpose in the Great Cycle. Charged with paving the way for the Fey Court's arrival, the Bolgans violently push out mortal influences. During their reign of terror, the Bolgans slaughter any non-Fey they encounter. They flourish for a time, before diminishing as the Fey Courts rise in prominence. By the time the Bolgans are gone, it is too late for the mortal races who once called those lands home. Atirru the All-Knowing was one of the sentient trees that comprised the Ring of Keozai. The great tree was wise beyond the understanding of lesser beings, but such knowledge posed a threat to the forces of darkness. When the Age of Ruin brought fire and chaos to the wildwood, the Niskaru used powerful sorceries to destroy Atirru. Despite Atirru's demise, the great tree channeled its knowledge into the surrounding forest. In this way, all that Atirru knew was preserved. The territory of Falkenmead was settled by human tribes drawn to the region by its fertile fields and fresh waters. But the settlers soon ran afoul of the aggressive Gnolls that claimed the land as their own. When the Gnoll clans were united under Sinnock's rule during the Middle Kingdoms, the embattled humans called upon the Almain kingdom to defend their farms and villages. Eventually, the occupying Almain forces annexed the lands to establish the Duchy of Falkenmead, reaping its rich harvests in exchange for a lasting defense against the Gnolls of Theriac Hold. The nation of human warlords known as the Durek made a decisive move against the Alfar during the years of the early kingdoms. The humans launched a surprise attack that caught the elves unprepared. Enraged, the elves counterattacked, using magic and steel to decimate their Durek aggressors. the elves would have wiped the Durek stain from Amalur forever were it not for the ruling of the Justicars. Instead, the surviving Durek were exiled to distant shores, never to return. The Varani Confederate once settled throughout Amalur. In Dregshore, they built Fort Olghorn as a trading post. But Olghorn was more valuable than they knew. Control of the fort meant control of much of the northern coastline. Many wars were fought. Towns were constructed upon ruins, only to be torn down by the next conqueror. The Jottun took Olghorn from the Varani. The Durek seized it from the Jottun. The Dverga claimed it from the Durek. But who will conquer Olghorn next? The Hyperian Empire dominated Amalur for over 5 centuries. Although it is now a memory, many of its relics remain. The Kollossae honored their bravest and strongest champions at Heroes' Glen, those who fought and died for their people. The statues were not merely monuments to the heroes of the Lost Age. When roused, the forms of these mighty warriors would march into battle. Forgotten, these stone guardians wait, an untouched vestige of a fallen empire, the last monument to order in this land of strife. Long ago, the Merlot family was preeminent among winemakers. Over time, their pedigree was lost to them, but Montalcino Merlot vowed that he would reclaim his family's former glory. The resulting wines were disappointments, and Merlot's father shunned him for his failure. Ashamed and disheartened, Merlot left Vinoterra behind, vowing to return only after he had crafted the perfect wine.
The Dverga decided they would make their home upon Obsidian Isle. They wished to ensure that the Naglfar, the only ship to survive the journey, would be safe should they have need of it again. 13 great golems, crafted from priceless sea steel, were crafted by Dvergan smiths and runebinders. Once complete, the golems carried the great ship to the frozen caldera atop the Obsidian Isle.
In times of need, the first settlers to tame the wilds of Breathland relied upon a group of woods witches called the Sisterhood of Sudiza for aid. Though the sisters were mysterious and insular, they chose to offer their expertise as healers, midwives, and druids to neighboring villages. When the Order of Clairvaux was established, its leaders saw the Sisterhood as competition for their own charitable works. Over time, the Order used propaganda and lies to damage the trust that once existed between Breathland's people and the Sisterhood. The influence of chaos spread unchecked across Amalur during the Age of Ruin. A Niskaru lord, Brekthemore, awoke in the mountains near Othyrus and saw that the Kollossae had dared to bring order to the land. Taking the form of Naros, an ancient deity of the trolls, Brekthemore and his minions waged a deadly campaign against the Kollossae that would ensure their isolation for decades to come.
In time, the Kollossae drove back Brekthmore's trolls and confronted the Niskaru lord. By channeling the power of Athene, the Colossae goddess, the giants stripped away Brekthmore's disguise and banished him beyond the arcane veil. Victorious, the thrones of Athene blessed the spring that fed the Istros River, bringing peace to all who drank from it.